And from there, I embraced it. Like I was really tall, I'm 6'10". It was like an advantage, but at the same time, I felt accepted. Being tall, being black, growing up in Scotland, I felt really awkward at times, like I didn't fit in. But actually, in this sport, it was essentially like it was made for me. So I really kind of embraced it. I like to say I embraced my uniqueness. So I'm Kieron Achara, former GB basketball captain, Scotland basketball captain.
Brilliant. So how does someone from Stirling make it so far in basketball?
That's a really good question. So I guess to start my journey, basketball was never a thing. Growing up, it was something we did at PE, but it was never really any. I never had any ambition of making it to the NBA or playing at any type of level. But I started playing about 14, 15. Went along to the school team, Stirling High School, and from there, I embraced it. Like I was really tall, I'm 6'10". It was like an advantage, but at the same time, I felt accepted. Being tall, being black, growing up in Scotland, I felt really awkward at times, like I didn't fit in. But actually, in this sport, it was essentially like it was made for me. So I really kind of embraced it. I like to say I embraced my uniqueness. I really enjoyed that journey. People wanted to pick me on their team, having a lot of success and seeing all those small little wins. Like I said, it just felt like I belonged. So got on this basketball journey as a hobby, and then I heard about scholarships. I went over to a camp in America at 16. A coach put his arm around me and said, "Son, if you work really, really hard, you could get a scholarship," and it literally changed my life. I then believed that I could be something. I could go on to university. I could achieve great things, and yeah. So the journey started from there. I was hooked.
Absolutely, and so you did. You played in the States, and the journey started there. Coming from Stirling out to the US. Where did your career go after that?
Yeah, so in the US at the time, I loved my experience. I was in Pittsburgh. I really loved that city. Loved my university. Loved everything about it. So my plan was actually to stay there, get a job, get a real job. I made great friends with the alumni. I was, student athlete of the year. So it was a really good journey. But then I heard about the Olympic Games. We got told that there was going to be basketball in 2012 in the Olympic Games. And my mind just completely switched there, thinking, wow, how cool it would be to be an Olympian. In other words, I knew if I wanted to be an Olympian, I would have to continue playing the sport. So that was actually what tipped me to go professional.
Plan, if you look back as a young boy, was it always your dream to play professionally, whether it be basketball or any other sport?
Not at all. Like my dream when I was younger, first and foremost, I wanted to be an accountant. And then that quickly switched to just getting a scholarship. Like, no one in my family had ever got a degree. No one in my street had went on to university, so I wanted to be the first. So that was actually, I was driven about going to get my education, and the basketball thing, as I grew in confidence and grew in my ability, that's when I started to dream that I could achieve higher levels.
And that's funny you say you want to be an accountant. What was it you actually studied?
So I ended up doing leadership and management and marketing. I did my core classes at first. I did a little bit of accounting. I was like, this is definitely not for me.
Yeah, accounting and basketball, two very different things. Brilliant. So now, looking back on the Olympics, tell me how that was as a Scot playing for Great Britain in the 2012 Olympics.
The 2012 Olympics were phenomenal. And again, I think it was a gift and a curse, because I was so fixated on getting there on that journey. And once I reached it and it was over, I was really kind of shocked of what now. Like, that's it. I thought my life would completely change. So I embraced it. I got to meet some really cool athletes, being around the village, being at a home Olympics as well in London, such a friendly atmosphere, getting to top score in our big win against China. It was a dream come true, but at the same time I understood that it was just a part of my journey. It wasn't the be all and end all. So I quickly realised after going in a little bit of a slump once I was finished that, you know, there's still a lot more of life to live. And I continued on that. And like I said, very proud of that moment, but the journey continues.
I mean, often athletes are only defined by, for example, the highest level they've played at. And you say it was a little bit like a curse. I mean, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important that the athletes understand that they're more than an athlete, that they are a little bit more holistic in their approach. Because if you get defined by your sport, you know, for every athlete, it's going to end at one point, and it's going to be a lot earlier than most professions. So for me, it was really important to kind of work on my identity, understand that I could build confidence away from the basketball court as well. So I kind of started to reflect back on my journey, the things I achieved, the fact that I'd gotten a degree, the fact that, you know, I'm a father, I'm a husband, a lot of different things that I have, a lot of different transferable skills that I'd worked on throughout my career that I could apply to different things. And like I said, it's easy for me to say that now, but it's a journey that you have to go on.
I know there's obviously so much, as you've touched on, that you learned. How are you using all that now? What are you up to at the moment?
Yeah, so I like to say I'm a hybrid worker now. I'm doing a little bit of everything. Just recently joined the executive team at British Basketball, which I'm really proud to be a part of. I do a little bit of punditry work, motivational talks, and like I said, what I've learned from the sport, and I guess the key lesson was that self-belief. So my basketball journey, I think about when I first started, I wasn't the greatest player, I wasn't the greatest shooter, but it was something I worked on continuously. And the most important part of that is with the work I put in, I also was supported. So I always believe that you can't do anything alone. You have to be supported and supported through those different things. And actually having the ability to ask for help is a massive step in the right direction. So I think with my communication skills, the understanding, you know, that kind of growth mindset, understanding that I can be better and can improve, it's helped me with my confidence to now try new things that I wouldn't even have thought of before. So I knew that everyone has to start somewhere, but I now have the confidence and belief that I can be something. So if I'm willing to go on that journey and get supported through that journey, I know I can achieve great things.
Talking on support, is that something you think is missing in sport, whether it be professional, whether it be amateur?
Yeah, so when I look at supports, I think it's something that needs to be worked on. I always talk about the duty of care in sport. We have to be a little bit more supportive to our athletes and thinking about the transitions, thinking about all, not even just the transition out of sport, transition through sport as well. So I like to say it's the focus on life through and beyond sport. But I also understand that a lot of people don't feel that they need help. And I hate to say it, but a lot of times where the athletes are treated like robots. You know, they're given absolutely everything in many cases, you know, where to be, how to be, what to eat, that they don't actually have time to think for themselves. So my goal right now is to try and help empower people to start thinking a little bit more holistically, start taking a little bit more control over situations and not just be coddled in that way, because they think that's a great thing at the time, but actually, you know, once you fly that nest, if you've been coddled your whole life, it can be very, very difficult.
And reflecting on your career so far, there's obviously lots left to achieve. Is there anything you would have done differently?
Yes and no. So obviously I'm very accepting of my life, but I guess the biggest difference I would have made at the very start would be just to I guess embrace different cultures. I was very fortunate. I lived in so many different countries, but I was so in my comfort zone. I always thought about my time in Scotland and how I was in Scotland. I never actually went and explored, asked questions, wasn't curious enough. So even when I was living in Italy, I would go to places that were English speaking, with, you know, people that I knew, go to the little Scottish bar,
Yeah.
you know, for those home comforts, but actually learning to embrace the cultures. And that was something that it took me a little bit of time. But once I started to explore, was curious about different things, it really opened my thinking to a whole different level.
Mm-hmm. What's the trajectory like for basketball in Scotland, even now and in the future?
I'm actually really excited right now, a bit too excited. We've just got a new professional franchise, the Caledonia Gladiators, which is now paired up. So there's a women and men's team. They're building a new facility, a new 20 million facility in East Kilbride at this moment, 6,500 seated arena. They've got this whole new youth development plan, so it's really quite exciting times for the sport. with this new fresh investment, the sport is definitely grown within schools. People are a little bit more aware of it, and now there's a lot more avenues to go on to the things like the States, things that when I was younger no one even knew about. Now there's people working hard to try and help young Scottish athletes make it to the next level. So I'm really, really excited for the sport.
Brilliant. And I mean, looking back, you obviously had a small time in the States. Would you advocate for fellow Scots or fellow Brits who, in their sport, whether basketball or not, to explore scholarships in the States and play?
I think exploring scholarships is a definite, but I always say when you're exploring those scholarships, there's a lot of things to take into account, and everybody's different. A lot of people tend to ask me for advice, should I go to America or not, and I say I don't know who you are. So it's understanding your needs, what you're looking for, what situation you're looking for. Best education, is it best place for sport, is it looking for a more cultural experience? There's so many different things to think about, but I think with the right support and that kind of informed consent, some great decisions can be made to go over to the States.
Brilliant. You're obviously a father too. Is sport something that your kids enjoy and that you advocate for them?
They're starting to love sport. They're still not sure about basketball, but they really embrace sport. And like I said, for me, it's all about having fun first and foremost. When you start to really enjoy something, that's when you can start pushing those boundaries. I think the problem in sport, what I'm finding to this day, is we're trying to turn young people into elite athletes way too young. They're not allowed to explore, they're not allowed to try new things because they're so fixated on these goals, which is causing massive burnout. So yeah, my kids are both exploring sport, enjoying the journey so far, and who knows where the journey will take them.
What would be your biggest takeaway in your basketball career to date?
So I guess my biggest takeaway is the power that sport has to change people's lives. Like it's massive. Like I think about where I was to where I am now, the life lessons I've learned, being around teams, the communication skills, like I said, the self-confidence, self-belief. Sport is a massive carrot for helping young people, change their lives for the good. So I just hope that more people can explore sport and continue to grow in the sport and not take it too seriously to start off with. Just enjoy it, embrace it, and try new things. Don't be scared to try these new things.
This is massive on mental health. How did that take you down that journey? What was the reason you moved into that sort of world a bit more now?
Yeah, so I started to take mental health really seriously. It's probably my last year as a professional playing basketball. I was really in a bad place. I didn't have any mental illness, but I did feel low and I felt very vulnerable. I was looking at social media, all the bad comments that were written about you after a game, and like I said, basketball is nothing like football in this country. You maybe have one odd comment, but I was searching for that comment. So I felt very vulnerable in that situation. I announced my retirement, understanding that mentally I wasn't in the right place. Physically I could still go, but mentally I wasn't there. Once I announced my retirement, I felt a whole weight lifted off my shoulders and actually performed some of my best basketball the last few months of that season. But it got me realising, I prepared, I went back to university, I went and got my master's, I was working, I was planning and preparing for life after sport, but I was still frightened and really scared. So the mental health aspect of that was trying to help other athletes prepare for that, because I knew that I was actually a lot better off than most, and I was still really struggling thinking about this transition. So I started to explore that. I unfortunately lost some friends to suicide as well through their sporting journeys, and I just think we needed to do more in that space and be a little bit more vocal and help people understand that it's okay to talk about these certain things, and actually there is support out there. So that's my purpose now. I'm empowered by that purpose, and I do believe that we can all make a difference, and just starting to learn to communicate and understand that there is support out there for anybody.
Brilliant. And I guess by raising awareness of that, a 6'10" basketball player decided to run a marathon. How did that go?
It went. I like to say, running a marathon. It was a real experience. But talking about mentally stimulating, I was saying that it's really weird when you fundraise, for example. I might have quit if it wasn't for the fundraising efforts, but I never realised how important it was for me as well, because again, I always talk about having purpose in what you do. I felt that I had a strong purpose behind running that marathon for Sam H, and it kind of got me over the finishing line. But I don't know if I'll be running a marathon anytime soon.